We have breaking news in Newark, New Jersey. Police are searching for a suspect or more who shot at least 2 officers. Sources tell CBS News the officers were serving a warrant when shots rang out. Police say a gunman may have been on a roof. Both officers were rushed to the hospital. One was reportedly hit in the neck. Police are seen throughout the area and on surrounding rooftops. Governor Phil Murphy tweeted that he is aware about the situation in Newark and is following the developments. Let's bring in CBS News investigative producer Pat Milton. Pat, we are looking at live photos right now where we can see a heavy police presence. What more can you tell us?
Yes, it's a very fluid situation right now. As you reported, officers, law enforcement are still looking for the shooting suspect. Apparently, what happened is the officers were shot while they were attempting to serve a warrant in Newark, New Jersey. The shooter was armed with a rifle, according to our law enforcement sources, and the person shot from either a rooftop or a window. The suspect remains at large. SWAT is on the scene. FBI has responded. Law enforcement, very heavy law enforcement presence on the scene. The scene is apparently an apartment building, and it's about 3 miles from downtown center of Newark. The officer, one was shot in the neck, as you reported. One officer was shot in the leg. They were transported to the hospital, and at this moment, they apparently are in stable condition.
That is good to hear. Pat, obviously this is a breaking news situation, and so things are a little bit fluid. Do you know anything more about how police are now looking for that suspect that is still at large? Have they confirmed that it's just one person? And do we know anything about the surrounding area, if it's on lockdown, et cetera?
They believe that it is one shooter, but still, again, this is a fluid situation. There's a lot unfolding. Officers are secured a large area, a large swath near the apartment area where everyone is just at a standstill. They've got it all roped off. They've got numerous officers going through buildings, backyards, stores, searching for the person that is the suspect in this shooting.
All right. Our investigative producer, Pat Milton, thank you so much. We will continue to monitor the situation and bring you more information as we get it. We're going to take a quick break. Stay with us. You're streaming CBS News, always on. We begin this hour with disturbing new details in the alleged plot against House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
Authorities say that the man accused of breaking into her home and attacking her husband also planned to take the speaker herself hostage, interrogate her during that encounter. A federal complaint alleges that David DePape told police he was prepared to break into the speaker's house and break her kneecaps if he did not believe her answers to his questions. The 42-year-old is now facing a slew of charges. They include attempted murder, all of it in connection to the break-in. CBS News correspondent Jonathan Bigliotti joins us now from San Francisco, where he's been covering this from day one. Jonathan, thank you for being here. The suspect himself, what do we know about who he was and what he was trying to do?
Yeah, Tony, officials describe a man driven by political extremism. According to investigators, the PAP arrived here early Friday morning at Nancy Pelosi's home with a bag with several items, among them 2 hammers, tape, rope, and rubber gloves, as you mentioned. And as investigators have detailed, his intent was to tie Nancy Pelosi up, take her hostage, ask her questions, and assault her with that hammer that he had. According to the criminal complaint, very disturbing details. Investigators outline an interview that the suspect gave to investigators at that moment, detailing that he wanted to ask Nancy Pelosi questions. If she didn't answer those questions correctly, he was going to break her kneecaps, all in some twisted, apparent effort to put her in a wheelchair so that she would have to be pushed through Congress to apparently send some kind of message to lawmakers that there are consequences to actions. So when we talk about political extremism, I think the highlights and really lowlights from this criminal complaint really put that into perspective.
Really, just horrific. Jonathan, how is the speaker's husband doing now? Because luckily she was not there, but obviously he was at home and was in fact attacked.
That's correct. And the criminal complaint describes how that attack took place. The suspect using that hammer to break through the glass patio door. He made his way up to the second floor bedroom where Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul, was asleep at the time. He was able to get away to call 911. And that is when he was struck by a hammer as police arrived on scene. Nancy Pelosi yesterday in a statement saying that Paul, her husband, is currently in the ICU making steady progress, where he's currently recovering right now from a fractured skull.
Jonathan, what do you know about the charges? There's a whole range of them against the suspect. What do they tell us about what authorities are thinking about the severity of the case?
Yeah, state and federal charges range anywhere from kidnapping to attempted murder. I think the swiftness in which these charges were filed and came down really show how clear officials here want to be in sending a message against political violence. Of course, there is only so much the law can do to fight misinformation and conspiracy theories, which may have played a role in driving the attack here. We know that DePape has a long history of espousing political conspiracy theories, and I think that is putting it lightly. CBS News has reviewed a number of his social media accounts where he ranges in things from denying the Holocaust to also denying the results of the 2020 election. Ahead of the midterms, we also want to point out that security has been stepped up around certain lawmakers. There is question this morning about whether or not that service will be extended to family members as well.
All right, Jonathan Vigliotti for us in San Francisco. Jonathan, thank you very much.
Breaking news. The Supreme Court just temporarily blocked former President Donald Trump's tax records from being given to a House committee. Joining us now, NBC News Supreme Court reporter Lawrence Hurley. Lawrence, good morning. What does this mean?
Well, what this means is that the lower court ruling that allowed for these tax returns to be handed over to the House Ways and Means Committee is now temporarily put on hold, and that was going to go into effect on Thursday, which would have meant that, imminently those materials would be handed over to the committee, possibly, before the election or before the potential changeover of Congress. But now that's all put on hold. The Chief Justice is saying he wants to hear from the committee in response to Trump's emergency request, and that's not going to be due until November the 10th. So everything is now frozen until the committee makes its response, and then the Supreme Court probably as a whole will decide whether to grant Trump's request.
Well, our international editor, Jeremy Bowen, has spent the last week travelling through Ukraine, from the frontline battlefields on the Donbass to the villages of Kherson, where some of Russia's best troops are concentrated to try to stop the Ukrainian offensive. His report contains some deeply distressing details.
For Ukrainians, this is a fight for national survival. The hardest test any nation can face. It upends every life. It has ended the lives of thousands. This is Bakhmut under heavy shelling. At the moment, the center of the artillery war in Donbass. Left is good. More than 70,000 people used to live here. Almost all of them have left. When I was last in Bakhmut in the summer, there was shelling, but it was still more or less functional. Some buses running, a few shops open. But now, look at it. desolation. This is what months of attritional warfare does to a town. Bakhmut's war hospital is a short ride from the mud and blood of the front line. The invasion, the casualties, the terrible cost of President Putin's attempt to subdue a people he says are the same as Russians, all of it has sharpened Ukrainians' sense of nationhood. Just behind the front line near Bakhmut, this is a Ukrainian artillery unit's daily routine. First, reloading their missile launcher, a 50-year-old Soviet Grad B-21 that is a tried and trusted killing machine. Ukraine's autumn mud has slowed down generations of armies. Mobile warfare will be easier when it freezes over. The Russians saw them coming.
Incoming.
At the other end of the front line, a long day's drive southwest from Donbass, is the district of Kherson. It includes the village of Mirolubivka, recaptured by Ukraine after days of hard fighting in September. We went there because residents said the Russians had terrorized them in 6 months of occupation, and because of what happened when a soldier came to this house at 11:30 on the night of the 13th of July. He dropped this bullet during the next 6 terrible hours, say these women. Now with her daughter in a safe place. That night, Ludmila Mimrikova, a 75-year-old great-grandmother, was alone until, she says, the man forced his way in and raped her.
Putin and the Russians will never be forgiven until the end of the world for what they did to the Ukrainians. There will be no forgiveness.
As the seasons change, the war is at a critical point. Ukrainians need a victory this winter in Kherson. Russia cannot afford another defeat. That is a formula for a battle that shapes the course of the war. Jeremy Bowen, BBC News in Ukraine.